Okay, well, let's get underway. Um, Welcome. I'm going to start off with the land acknowledgement, then I'll do a brief review of what's on the agenda, and then we'll get things moving. So I'm going to ask Tylene Apple from Edmonton to please do the land acknowledgement.
And so one of our Scan Edmonton members, Jerry Hoffs, had suggested at our meetings that, and it came from our meetings with Jamie Broke from Indigenous Climate Action, to look up information about places close to us. So I looked up a area of Edmonton that was formerly called Oliver. It was a neighborhood in Edmonton, and there was a school, a swimming pool, community league, etc., that were named after Oliver. And I looked into why it was renamed. So the Oliver region of Edmonton was first named after Frank Oliver, who was an Albertan member of parliament and a federal minister first elected to office in 1883. Oliver has a harmful legacy in Alberta. He is known for drafting discriminatory legislation, including policies that pushed Indigenous peoples off their traditional lands. As Minister of the Interior and Superintendent General of Indian Affairs from 1905 to 1911, Oliver did his utmost to obtain surrenders of the various Indian reserves in and around his home city of Edmonton. Oliver's ideal Canadian civilization didn't involve immigrants or Indigenous people. He was absolutely in favor of a heavily racialized immigration policy. He favored a vision of the emerging nation of Canada as white, meaning British. Oliver was the Indian agent for the Mitchell First Nation, a Mohawk nation in northern Alberta. In his role, he enforced regulations that prevented Callahoo Stonehouse's chaplains, which is a Cree term for either a great grandparent or a child, from leaving their reserve without Oliver's signed permission. It was illegal to take a train, go into Edmonton, and buy groceries, for example. After Oliver took charge of federal Indian affairs in 1905, he arranged a deal to buy parcels of land from the Mitchell First Nation for $9 per acre. The money was never paid, and the sale was declared illegal by the Canadian government, but Oliver still managed to have the deed of that land transferred to him, and it has never been returned. Oliver also lobbied to have the Papaschase First Nation removed from the reserve land on what is now the southern part of Edmonton, along with the Sharphead First Nation people removed from their reserve land in central Alberta. None of those Indigenous nations have had their reserve land returned, and despite multiple legal battles, those nations are not recognized under the Indian Act today. The name of Oliver neighborhood in Edmonton, Alberta has been changed. It is now officially known as Way Quin to Win, which is a Cree word meaning circle of friends. This change was approved by Edmonton City Council in February 2024 and officially took effect on January 1st of 2025. The decision to remain the neighborhood was part of a broader effort to address the legacy of Frank Oliver, a historical figure whose policies were discriminatory towards Indigenous peoples and immigrants. The renaming process was community driven, with the Oliver Community League leading the initiative and in consultation with Indigenous peoples. The school within the Oliver neighborhood, previously named Oliver School, has been named to the same name. As a great grandchild of white settlers on the prairies, I'm learning about the horrific crimes committed against the original people and rightful stewards of this land in order for me to grow up on a family farm and benefit from land stolen from Indigenous people who were manipulated, coerced, segregated, degraded, starved, and even killed to be forcibly removed from their land. Settler colonialism is not just our past, as we see the ongoing harms to Indigenous peoples, both in so-called Canada and around the world, and especially in the occupation, oppression, mass killing, and starvation occurring in Gaza today. I acknowledge my privilege, and I will continue to learn about the truth of the past, actually listen to and support the knowledge and leadership of Indigenous people, sit in my discomfort of knowing my complicity, and then take action to work together for reconciliation, justice, peace, and change to create a good future for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tylene. It's the story, the real stories are the ones it's really important to hear, and there's so many of them. Thank you. So today's agenda, we're going to go through four basic sections. One is about talking about where things are at with the Draw the Line Coalition and how we're organizing. The second one will be the communications and media that we have available and the toolkits. The third will be various presentations about what's happening in Manitoba and from three different places that are organizing, three different locations. And finally, there'll be a reminder. And of course, as we usually do, we'll have the after chat session in case people want to stay back to get issues clarified or to be maybe carry on the discussion. So we'll get underway on the actual first presentation. And I'm going to say, first of all, we're in a time we know the forest fires are burning, and we're going to hear a bit more about that today. And it doesn't take much to look around Canada and the rest of the world, where Spain and other parts of Iceland, the various places there things are happening in terms of fires and heat waves, etc., flooding, all those things. So we know the situation is getting more dire. And that's the context in which we're going to start, we're going to be organizing for September 20th. So I'm going to ask Eric to show this video. This is the video done by the International Call for the Day of Action. I'll start out there. Eric, you ready to go? Okay.
Our future is at stake. Across the globe, wildfires, floods, storms, and heat waves are intensifying. Food and energy costs are rising. Environmental defenders and activists are facing violence and imprisonment, while a handful of billionaires continue to profit and prop up the industries polluting our land, air, and water. This September, join thousands on the streets to draw the line.
What do we want? When do we want it?
From mass rallies to strikes and walkouts, people everywhere are preparing to take action. Against injustice, pollution, and violence, and for a future built on peace, clean energy, and fairness. Let's draw the line for people, for democracy, for life, for clean energy, against fossil fuels, extractivism, and oppressive regimes. This is our moment to draw the line and take back our future.
Okay. Thanks. So that sets the tone and in terms of the call for global action. And I want to go through a series of things in recent developments in order to situate where we're at right now in this whole process and working a coalition. So there's a number of issues that come up in working in coalition with others, and I'm going to try and give you a sense of that and where things stand. I'm going to start a PowerPoint here. Give me a second. Okay, let me know when you can see that.
Yes.
Okay, we're good to go. Okay, so
We're
got full screen and everything. That's working okay.
All good, Nick.
Okay, good. So this is the general call, the poster. The idea of the day: draw the line for people, for planet, and join us. Um, and So we had a presentation, people remember, on July the 8th at this meeting. In fact, the last one, when I think about it. And this is a couple of slides from that presentation. And you'll note that, the way it was presented, Saturday, September 20th, chance for our movements to unite and take the streets. Together, we are drawing a clear line. Carney must choose between climate chaos, corporate control, or a safe and just future for us all. And along with that, it said we want to unite, special opportunity to unite across movements, reminder politicians. In fact, solidarity across movements is the only way we will win. And so we said, sure, that sounds good. The way it was defined in terms of climate and as a climate demonstration, uniting with others and proceeding from there. So we've come a long way since then. When I think of it, it's only a month. It seems like a lot longer than that. But there's various problems that have arisen along the way. One of them is the wording of the demands. And I got to just adjust my screen for 1 second here. Okay. And part of the problem was we ran into the demands we had problem with the accessibility of the demands in terms of how they were formulated, whether they were outward looking and drawing new people in, or whether they're more inward looking in terms of people who already agreed and understood with the issues. the initial understanding of the day was climate focused, and then some of that changed as well, and tended to narrow the scope of the day and the objective. And then there was problems with the basis of the coalition, and I'm going to get into the bit about that right now. So first, the wording of the demands was not easily accessible, as I just defined, and I've gone through that already. Sorry. So, but the other thing that happened was the coordination team made a decision that in order to participate as a recognized coalition, you must agree to the 5 demands as written. At that point, the demands were written slightly differently than they are now. And as I said, that narrowed things, and that was a problem. We really had a problem with that. So, and the other thing was I mentioned was that there was a requirement to agree to those 5 demands. If you didn't agree to the 5 demands, you couldn't be recognized as a official coalition. So we had a meeting. We went through a number of things around this. The actual demands changed a bit, so they're more accessible, and there's still maybe some issues with that. And then we also talked about and said we don't believe it's really logical or possible to form a coalition where everybody must agree with the wording of every demand. And it's particularly for us as Seniors for Climate who don't have positions on a lot of those issues, very difficult problem for us. So we met, here's a letter and understanding that we met with 350 leadership and came to an understanding. And I'm going to go through that understanding now. So the first thing before we get into that is that this is called the basis of unity. It went from where you had to agree to the 5 demands, that you just had to agree that this was the basis of unity in which you would operate. And it's an invitation to build a lasting, inclusive, intersectional coalitions. No problem. Rooted in deep relationships, shared leadership, mutual respect, and then from lists various possible groups, the 5 different categories, through accessible collaborative organizing, commit to learning from one another, honoring different organizing cultures, emphasizing all the demands and sustaining our collective power to confront systemic crisis with strength and solidarity. That was a different basis than saying you must agree with the wording, because the wording is a whole other matter. So what's talking about is a basis of unity around that. And further than that, acknowledgement that those are the demands of the day of action, and we'll work to educate ourselves on the issues. And so those are 2 background agreements that it's important to situate where things are at. So the first paragraph of that letter I showed you is any group or coalitions. This is, by the way, the letter we sent, email sent back to 350 following the discussions we had and the understanding we reached. So any group or coalition who agrees to the basis of unity, acknowledges the 5 demands of the Cross Canada Draw the Line Coalition, commits to learning about the 5 areas, and can and will be recognized as a host for the September 20th Day of Action. So that's those 2 things I just showed you, the basis of unity, the acknowledgement. That's what people are being asked to agree to. And there's 2 maps. There's the Seniors for Climate map. There's the Draw the Line map. And the Seniors for Climate map, there's no question who goes on that. The Draw the Line map, these are some of the conditions. So to be recognized on the Draw the Line map, as I said, you have to agree to the basis of unity and acknowledgement. Is there a requirement to agree to the demands? And the answer is no. You do not have to agree to the specific demands. You have to recognize that that's what the demonstration is being organized under. Is there a requirement to have representatives of all or more of one of the constituent groups? That you have to have all those in your coalition in order to be recognized. And again, no. And we did note to them that Seniors for Climate location organizers, almost without exception, attempt to build alliances within their communities. Various of them developed alliances with one or more Indigenous peoples organizations, peace movement, migrant justice, etc. But in spite of that, if you don't have to have those in your coalition in order to be qualified as a recognized coalition in the event. So I'm going through a lot of detail. I'm sorry to do this, but I think it's going to be important understanding where things are at. Now, on the other hand, if you have an event and another group gets in touch with you through the draw the line, etc., then you would want to talk to them. You would want to figure out how to work together and move things forward. So we pointed out this point to them about the the history of our group, the Seniors for Climate, and the work we've been doing. And then the second paragraph says, this means that Seniors for Climate groups who by their very nature focus their attention on climate issues and who agree to the basis of unity and acknowledgement statement will be recognized as hosts by the Central Draw the Line Coalition. This is actually going from a place where it would have been very difficult for a lot of us to be recognized, at a certain point. Within 2 weeks ago, we had that problem. So they will not have to meet criteria beyond that. And that's important, an important development and change. It's been a difficult process, but we're working things through. The next paragraph is, in the case when Draw the Line's in contact with one or more groups in a location, and Seniors for Climate is taking initiative to organize a September 20th event, and the Draw the Line will put them in touch with each other. So they run into, there's another group comes, registers, they put them in touch with the group that's been organizing already. And those groups, in the spirit of goodwill and common cause, would be expected to meet with each other to attempt to establish a common agenda. It may not happen. It's not, it may not be possible, because who knows, depending on the amount of time you have, there could be other issues we're not aware of. But the idea is we attempt to do that. And in the case where a given location where Seniors for Climate, or any other organization for that matter, has planning well underway for weeks or months, it's not assumed or expected that Seniors for Climate or any other group in a similar situation would stop their events and go back to start all over again when they're introduced to these new groups. So that's important as well. There are a number of groups that have things already underway even before we actually had the July 8th meeting. And so to say, and there's been problems in some cases where, there's new people come on the scene and there's difficulties. It's understood that this is the way that should be approached. So I got blank there. Okay, so I think that's it. Let me just read 1 second. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to pass it. So I hope that explains the background. And it means that we in Seniors for Climate are going to be now working to move our agenda ahead. And any group that chooses to be part of that coalition that wants to be on the Draw the Line map can do so under the conditions we just outlined, or not. It's not required. And you'll be on the Seniors for Climate map. And so today we want to talk about moving the agenda forward around climate and how it relates to some of those issues. I'm going to ask Louise now to talk a bit about where things are at around climate.
Super. Just to add, if you are registering on the Draw the Line side of things, you will get an email. And before I get into some of the polling, that email does suggest that you should be trying to read out the basis of unity at your meetings or at your event, which was a challenge for us in New Brunswick because our event is a parade, so it didn't quite work. But you'll see an email that will say, read it out loud. What I'm going to do is just spend a couple of minutes talking about some recent polling. And the reason for that is I'm not sure about you all, but in the world I'm living in, I'm getting a lot of pushback about whether or not we should be talking about climate change. That the polling shows it's not at the top of the top of mind concerns for people, and I really want to emphasize the point that and this poll that I'm going to just give you a few results for, that because something isn't top of mind, it doesn't mean it's not a deep worry for people. And I'll put the link in the chat for this, but the best poll and the best analysis on this very issue came out just a couple of weeks ago from Abacus Research. And what they did was looked at, where climate change issues were in terms of the public, a 1,500 person poll. And, they start their analysis by reminding us that, only 15% of the Canadian population put climate change as their top of mind concern. And so you may have noticed that we have a prime minister who never says the word climate change anymore. And it's coming from this misunderstanding of where things fit, that it's behind affordability and so on. Yet the poll found 77% of Canadians are worried about climate change's future effects. This is a 15% jump in 1 year in terms of people's concerns. And why might that jump have occurred? Well, it's occurred because of their direct experience with extreme weather. 65% of Canadians believe that extreme events are becoming at least moderately more frequent or severe in their area. When he asked in the survey, what is it that you're thinking about when you're saying that? Well, what comes top of mind for all of us? We would say the same thing. Wildfires. More than 50% said that. Unusual temperature fluctuations, more frequent heat waves, increased rainfall or flooding, and more severe storms. Almost 70% of the sample said that they expect weather to get worse, climate change to be worse in the next 5 years. So, extreme weather events in the next 5 years. And this is really important. Climate change is actually visceral now. It's here, it's now, it's real. And it means that we can have in our communications a mirroring of their experience, our experiences, an exchange of care and empathy in our communications. It's actually the last moment we should stop talking about climate change. It's the moment to be talking about climate change. The other thing that he did was, well, what do you want government to do? And what was clear in the survey results and the analysis was that they expect government to solve economic issues and climate change at the same time. They don't want to see any trade-offs. So this idea that we can't think about climate change right now because the economy is a mess, no. They expect both to happen, and we should feel confident in our demands in that regard. They really, when he said, well, what should government do if they're doing something about climate change? What's the number one thing? You see it on our website, invest in renewable energy, make our communities more resilient and safer. So those were the top two pieces. And in his upshot, which is a great summary of what he thinks the results show, he says Canadians now place climate change among their foremost worries. And we should be engaging with people in that way. We're all worried. You're worried. I'm worried. Worry. Talk about that so that we're mirroring people's feelings. He talks about extreme weather events feed the broader precarity mindset, the sense that day-to-day life is perched on a knife edge where extreme weather can upend routines, finances, personal safety, and displace entire communities without warning. That is exactly what we're dealing with. He also talks about the need to be careful about numbness. We don't want to create a numbing effect, right, in people. He says the antidote to numbing is to keep our narratives personal, local, to link carbon policy to the cost of cooling an apartment during a week-long heat emergency or the premium hike after a basement flood. Framing climate risk in these everyday terms resonates with the cost of living lens that defines precarity mindset and prevents the issue from slipping into abstraction fatigue. I just love that. So just to sum up quickly, what we should feel confident in. Climate change is a concern for Canadians. We are not speaking to the converted. We're speaking to all Canadians here. So we should focus on this issue September 20th with confidence. Mirror people's lived experience. Call out the big polluters and the need for holding polluters accountable. We want to talk, as we do, you'll see in our demands, build renewable energy now and resilient communities to keep us safe. So when we're building out Canada, we're building resilient communities to keep us safe. So this is a fantastic poll that certainly reinforced my own confidence in what we're doing. So I'll put the link in the chat and share widely. Oh, yeah, I'll just go get that.
If you can send that summary to us, that'd be great, Louise, because
Okay.
I think it would be wonderful for people to see that.
Yeah, we'll do.
Okay, thank you. So now we're going to go to one more presentation before we open up the floor for some discussion, and that's Dave Smith, who's going to give you a bit about the mechanics of the coalition, being on the maps, etc. Dave.
So we've been emphasizing that when you are ready to be added to the map, and that's both maps, to send an email to the admin@seniorsforclimate.org email address, and we will take care of getting you added into the Seniors for Climate map. I am going to say that at these meetings that we have, we know that some organizers from each location attend, but we don't know that all organizers from each location attend. And the important thing is that we want consensus from all the organizers at your location about whether they agree to the statement of unity, they acknowledge the demands, and are willing to do education. There's no point submitting anything to the Draw the Line map until you have figured that out at your location. Because once you actually do the submission to the Draw the Line map, the first email that you're going to get back from them is asking you to agree to that. So it's going to take some time probably, because you're going to probably want to have a meeting with all your organizers, but that needs to get put in place. So we do ask that you meet with your organizers, discuss the statement of unity, discuss the demands, agree to do the education, and once you've got to that point and have your event details together, to send it in to admin@seniorsforclimate. Okay, so what happens then is that we add your details to the Seniors for Climate map. That's relatively straightforward because we do that all the time. Although I am going to add a little promo here. Probably about half of the events that we get are missing very simple information. And the very simple information are things like date, time, place, or an event description. So we do ask that you take care of those. Okay. We'll add it to the Seniors for Climate map, and then we will take that information, we'll go across to the Draw the Line map and enter that in. And as I said, as a result of that, you are going to get an email that will ask you to agree, and you have to agree. Following on from that, you're probably going to get more information. So there is an entire toolkit that has been prepared by Draw the Line. It's a very lengthy document, and it covers some very basic information on organizing, which all of you, I'm sure, are very aware of, but it also gives things like posters and graphics and stuff like that. It's very lengthy. The other thing that we wanted to warn you about is that there are likely to be future demands from Draw the Line. And typically those demands are going to be things, and I say demands, asks. They are going to ask you to do future things in the future. And that will be probably things like promotion, or providing them with photos, or doing an evaluation for them. So there's a number of things that we don't know about yet because they haven't been revealed to us, but they are coming down the line. We know they're coming down the line. So you will be asked for stuff from the Draw the Line people, and we're going to ask you for roughly the same thing. But I want to make you also aware that all the support that you get from the Seniors for Climate group is not going away. It's still there. You can ask us to help you, and we will support you however we can. So I'm going to stop there and see if anybody has any questions.
Okay, just before you do that, so summarize, if you want to be on the map, you're on the map. If you don't, you that's fine too. And we have the method in place, and let's get it, what we have about maybe 7-8 minutes for some discussion about where things are at. Also, there's other things like recommendations. You decide if you want to follow the recommendations, like reading the basis unity beginning of the meeting. If you want to, you do. If you don't, you don't. Depends on your situation, often whether it makes sense or not. So these are all your decisions to make. So Anne, Paul.
I I'm getting confused. I thought I was not confused, but now I'm getting confused.
Okay.
There was Dave, you were talking about how, you have to read the stuff out and you have to, bring it, but that would be only if you want to be on the draw the line map. Is that right?
That's right.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so if you just want to be on the Seniors for Climate map, is there like any of this stuff you need to do?
No.
No.
Okay, and like, does that include not needing to have a special meeting to talk about the agreement? You
That's
don't
right.
need to do that? And
No.
are you gonna send a copy of the agreement out?
We will, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So, all right. So I just wasn't clear if you were just talking about draw the line stuff or if you were,
Yeah,
thank
so
you. Now,
thank you. And the main thing was before you ask us to put you on the map, make sure everybody's okay with it because no sense doing it afterwards. That's the main point
make
there.
sure everybody's okay with what?
If you want to be on the draw the line map,
Okay, on the
your
draw
group
the
wants to
line
be-
map,
yeah,
but
yeah,
not
the
on
draw
the
the line,
Seniors
sorry.
for Climate map.
Seniors for Climate is what it's been.
Okay,
It's
good.
always
So that's any
and-
Seniors for Climate action can go on the Seniors for Climate map.
absolutely.
Right.
Okay. Thank you for doing all this. You've addressed a lot of my
Great,
concerns.
thank you. Okay, Nancy?
Yeah, I just want to back up a bit because I think, first of all, I want to compliment the people who've come together to form this coalition. I think that it's a really important development. And I think that the goals of the coalition and trying to bring together organizations that are engaged with Indigenous solidarity, with anti-militarism, with migrant rights, and with climate issues. Am I missing one? Social justice issues is a real step forward. And that all of us can grow as a movement by building these connections. But building a coalition always is difficult, and there'll be miscommunications, and there are organizational practices in one group or another group that may be different, and communication is a challenge. So everything that you've described, Nick, in terms of some of the back and forth is not a surprise to me because it's part of the process of building a coalition and it's always challenging. But I don't think that, I think that it's a positive thing for us to have the discussion about the basis of unity that the coalition is asking for. And I think that it actually has the potential to expand who we're working with and bring us into contact with other groups. I mean, we always in Kingston, just speaking locally, we always reach out to a number of different organizations, but I've never thought about reaching out to migrant organizations, and I think it's worth thinking about. Our ability to do these things is going to be based on the capacity of each group and where we're located. You know, if you're in a smaller community, you may not have those resources. But I think I just want to make a pitch for why I think looking at that basis of unity and talking about it is a really important thing to do, because this is the first opportunity that we've seen a coalition like this, and it's of their member groups, it's hundreds of groups that have come together and come up with a basis of unity. So fantastic work. Let's take it seriously and do what we can to actually put ourselves on the draw the line map as well.
Good. Thanks, Nancy. Margaret, Ann? You're on mute still.
Sorry. I'm just trying to make sure. So here, the sort of meetings that we've had with more groups at them, like not my Seniors for Climate group, but with other environmental one peace group, when a Voice of Women. The rest are all environmental groups. But basically, the decision was nobody could take on a huge task. So there are going to be at least 2 or 3 things happening on that day that will be separate but coordinated. I don't even know if they're all going to use. Anyway, I think I'm just going to stick to Seniors for Climate because the DTL stuff is feeling a bit. I'm already trying to coordinate more people, I guess, than I was before. But what we're planning now is like, at the moment, 3 separate events on the 20th because no one could organize one big one. Does that seem not okay? I'm just not sure about all that. If you have more events, we just can't seem to coalesce it into one thing.
So I'm going to quickly respond to that. That's the whole point. Every situation's different, and you know best how to manage it.
Okay.
So,
So
like
it's
Nancy
not a
made the
problem
point.
that it'll all be draw the line.
Yeah. And Nancy made the point that there's some positive things, but there's also recognition that each of us is in a different situation. We have to do what we can do in the situation we're in. And so that, yes, coalitions are difficult. It's been difficult getting to that point, but we did get to that point, and now we can really move ahead. Lois?
Thank you.
I just have a quick question. So if we're not part of the draw the line map, can we still use that phrase, draw the line?
Aha. So we've talked about that, and we think, yes, we should still use the phrase, because the fact of the matter is we're all in this together, whether it's recognized as official or not. So what? I mean, not that it's not important, but yes, we would say yes, use the theme. It's the theme of the International Day. It's being put on across country. So yeah, please do. Thanks, Lois. Lynn?
Similar question. Can we use the draw the line graphics or any of their materials if our activity is not on the map?
Yeah. So again, I think we can. Anyway, yes, of course you can. I mean, I don't know how much of what you'll want to use, but you can look through it. And the main thing is to draw the line for people, for peace, for the planet is the thing that unites us for certain. And that logo of draw the line, no problem. If there's other things you want to use, I think that's a matter of judgment.
The example I'm thinking of signs and encouraging them to go to the march in Ottawa, for example.
Maybe I don't understand the question. You're saying, please, you're saying use the graphic from Ottawa to get people to go there? Is that what you mean?
Well, use the draw the line graphic and encourage them to go to the march in Ottawa.
Yeah, that's fine. Totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could be on the Seniors for Climate map as a group that's doing something. And then if you can decide whether you want to try to be on the draw the line map as well.
Thank you.
I think I'm answering that correctly. I don't think there's anybody in the coordinating committee, steering committee that see any problems there. Okay.
Nick, I can just say that
Go ahead.
when I go to communications later, we'll be talking about the posters and so on. So that might clarify some of those questions.
Yeah, and we're just about to go there right now. So very good. So I think we got that stuff clear, which is very important. So communications, over to Rolly.
I wasn't sure we were quite there, but okay. Yes. So thank you, Nancy, for that excellent those positive comments about coalition building. And yeah, it has been a difficult time, but in the end, I think you're right. I think we'll come out as a stronger force, and we need to. As far as communications team, we have been somewhat frustrated also with the process because we've been ready to do things for some time now and kind of had to wait for events or for these agreements to fall into place and basically wait for the larger organizations to catch up to us. It was a question of hurry up and wait. And now that we're we know how we're going forward. We are going to really focus in the next 5 weeks. In fact, it's 39 days away, and I believe 5 weeks from this coming Saturday, or maybe a little bit more. So, like I said, 39 days to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen and go through a couple of the documents very, very quickly. And also Eric will spend a little bit of time talking about the posters we've come up with and the toolkit that we're working on. And these are all resources you're going to have available very, very shortly. So let me just start by sharing my screen here. And doing this. Okay. Is this large enough? Probably not, eh?
Bit larger, yeah. That would increase it by, at least 25, 30%.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. Okay. So you've seen some of this text. It was, all of you would have received an organizer's email a few weeks ago. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the top part of this, but basically it summarizes our position, if you wish, as we go forward with this coalition. And you'll be receiving a one-pager that'll be in the post-meeting email that we will send out either probably in a couple of days. And but for the time being, again, I'll just go through it very quickly. Draw the line for people, for peace, for the planet. And yes, to your question, Lynn, we can certainly use all of this material. There is material in the toolkit that Dave was talking about, but we will have our own materials that you can also use. And you're close to Ottawa, and of course, the Ottawa Coalition is working on a larger event as well. So our commitment is to be part of this Draw the Line campaign. Our two main priorities, and again, you would have seen that this is the same as it was in the last email, but we're mobilizing seniors to act on climate. We are Seniors for Climate, and that is going to be our primary focus. And as Louise pointed out, this is not the time to pull away from focusing on climate. This is the very time to do so, because others are not necessarily making that their focus. So we will. And the climate crisis is no longer future tense, as Louise was pointing out. But part of focusing on climate doesn't mean that we ignore other forces that are involved in social justice and economic justice and so on. And so to build a unified movement for system change, so we support, while we focus on climate, of course, we know it's connected to all these bigger forces. There's an interconnectivity of all of these factors, and this is why this movement has such potential. And so I'll just spend 1 minute here. What we're fighting for, these are our demands, but we didn't want to call them demands because the coalition has demands, and we didn't want folks to get confused with demands. And so we're calling this what we're fighting for. It could be the priorities for a livable world, but these are going to be our points of focus. Our first one is end the era of fossil fuels, shift to renewables. Now that is totally in compliance with, if you'll remember on our website, and this is our messaging for 2025. We have 3 pillars. The first pillar is identifies fossil fuels as the problem. The second pillar is all about the solutions, and the third pillar is taking bold action. And we didn't know at the time that bold action would mean being part of this kind of coalition. It hadn't happened yet when we did that messaging. So our first priority, end the era of fossil fuels, shift to renewables, make polluters pay, find the public good. Protect people from climate harm. We had protect seniors before, but protect all people from climate harm. Uphold Indigenous sovereignty, respect migrant rights, and redirect public funds away from war to climate solutions and adaptation. Now, we have 6 here. The coalition has 5. but we've added actually our own, which is the first one, sorry, which is protect people from climate harm. So all of the social media posts that we're going to be doing and the promotion material, speaking points, and so on are going to focus on what we're fighting for. So you'll be getting this. And again, this is a reference document that you'll be able to use going forward. And as you can see, we're using definitely the draw the line logos and vertical and horizontal logos. So I'm gonna stop sharing that because I'm gonna go on to another and there can be questions on this later, but I just also want to mention that we're going to be sharing this one pager and we'll be continuing. You can probably expect to get more emails from us in the next 5 weeks as we get closer to the September 20th date. We'll be sharing notices and post-meeting summaries and key information as we move forward. This week, or actually we did that today, I believe, we did an e-blast to our base of 4,000 contacts. And on that e-blast, we announced 2 things. The one thing we did announce, and some of you would have received this already in your email, we announced the fact that August the 14th, 2 days from now, is the large call to action meeting called by 350, and there are already about 2,000 people who have registered for that call. I'll put the link in the. We'll send you the link, but this is on Thursday, so I'll share the link in the chat in a few minutes. And the other link that's in the other information in that e-blast is about the webinar on September the 9th, which is exactly. Is it 3 weeks or 4 weeks from today, in fact? And this is the webinar we will be promoting very, very aggressively, very strongly in the next 4 weeks. It features John Vaillant, fire weather, and how appropriate is it to feature that kind of webinar now that literally Canada is on fire from coast to coast to coast. We're hoping to get a pretty massive registration for that, and if you again, you will have the information to share with your own email list and encourage people to participate. And then we're also sending a letter to our endorsers and to our sponsors. So a lot of things will be coming up in communications in the next little while. We've just gone through the messaging. Eric will do the poster in a minute. Just wanted to share that on social media, we will be very active. We'll probably be doing Facebook ads as well. This has been shown to be quite effective in reaching our demographic. We will be doing a media advisory or media release and press release. Probably a media advisory first and then the press release as we get closer to the event. And we're also going to do a media plan. You'll recall that last year we had a media consultant. We're not going that route this year because, of course, the coalition via 350 and CanRag will be doing a lot of promotion and a lot of social media advertising as well. So, but we will have a media plan. We're just a media strategy, that is, but we have to develop that. So Christine Langlois and I will be working on that. And I'll spend a minute on the website. You know what? I'll go back to you, Eric, and you wanted to talk about the poster, and then I'll go to the website for a minute or so. So Eric, it's up to you.
Great. Thank you, Roy. I'm just turning my video off. Sorry, my computer is not doing so well in this heat. I hope everybody else is staying cool where you are. I'm going to do a quick overview of what's in the moment and briefly addressing the posters as well. So here we have to start out here because this is go from. And if you go to resources, we have there's quite a lot of different resources here, and some people find them, but there are some extremely useful things in here. So it's definitely worth sometime when you have the time spending a few minutes just seeing everything that's available in this space. But for today, we're just going to scroll down to documents, which is on the left, and at the top of documents, we have the updated toolkit. So the toolkit, many of you are familiar with this by now. This is where we keep a lot of our posters, graphics, branding materials that you can use to make your own graphics. So this fall, we have it updated to include some of the Draw the Line branding. We've got these links at the top, and if you click them, it'll take you further down in the toolkit to these different sections. Right at the top, I'm just going to be moving through this quite quickly, but we have a bunch of different language around Seniors for Climate and Draw the Line. We'll probably be adding even more of that closer to the date. So if you ever stumped about how to describe the movement or an event, this could be actually a good place to start and see what's available. There's also a section with a bunch of different quick, useful links. So if you're not sure, where to find our social media pages, we've got that right here. And then, you have the Draw the Line website on the left, our flyer, and some kind of more specific links like tips for organizers. There's even a video about dance choreography that some groups have used in their past events. So again, lots of useful stuff there. So getting to our printable assets, which is probably the big thing that a lot of people go to the toolkit for, we have our poster for this year. We actually have a few versions. You can see it in this preview at the right side here. That's what kind of our poster looks like, including some of that Draw the Line branding and some of their color schemes. Like I said, we have a few different versions. So we have this poster, and then we have an alternate look. That's this black poster here, again with the Draw the Line branding and some other information as well. So these posters, they give a lot of the same information. Between those two, it's really kind of the aesthetic of your group and what you're looking for your event. So two different options. Breaking down the versions of each one. So we have the standard poster. This just has the standard information. If you print it off, it'll tell people about Draw the Line. The one that a lot of people are interested in is just below. We have a version with all this blank space that can be used to add your own event details. So we have a JPEG image version. So if you're good with Photoshop or Paint or something like that, you can download that to fill it. There's a Canva version. If anyone in your group is kind of a Canva expert, that is a version you can use to make edits to that in Canva. But also, if you don't have a photo editor, that's totally fine. I have my email at the top here, at ericmurphy.j, etc. So if you email me, I can customize this poster for you as well. I just need the text you have, and I can make those changes. And so everything I just described about the full version with this information and the blank version, that's exactly the same for the other poster. You have the one with the text, and if you scroll down, there's the blank version with open space. So the same goes for both of them. You have the JPEG, you have the Canva version, or I can make edits to this one for you as well. So that's the posters. That's something that a lot of people are interested in. To quickly jump through what else we have at the moment, as always, we have a couple postcards. Lots of different links for how you might want to download that in different formats. We have this classic kind of nature-focused iceberg one. We have this one with some of the branding that matches our posters. And also in the next few days, we might be, some groups have requested one with wildfire imagery for their own specific uses. So maybe that will work its way into the general one as well. Continuing on, this last bit is going to be a review of stuff that has been in previous versions of the toolkit, but is always very useful and people like to have. We have our flag. We're not changing the flags this year. We want the flags to that many groups got last year to still be as relevant as ever. So we have the flag, and then we have the banner, which is like a giant version of the flag. So we have links for how you can have those printed off yourself. If you have any questions about them, feel free to email me. Moving on from banners, t-shirt and hat designs. So this is just the logos you can see on these shirts. You can send those to a local printer and they'll be able to make the shirt. And we've even actually listed a fair few different printers in different provinces around the country. Just, if you need some help finding a printer that's fairly available. Many of us, of course, got a lot of use and out of the Later is Too Late documentary. So if you're ever wondering where you can find that, it's still very accessible here on the toolkit. And just at the very bottom, if you're looking to make some of your own materials, we have branding guidelines. So that includes a couple of Seniors for Climate logos, the Draw the Line logos, our fonts, and even some of our brand colors. So if you have a graphic designer that kind of wants to make your own stuff from scratch, this is a place to go for that. So that's a summary of the toolkit where it is. I see there's a lot of comments in the chat. So when we go to questions, I'm sure we'll be addressing some of that stuff, and I'll stop sharing for now. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Eric. So we're going to go to a few more. That's really helpful. We're going to go to a few more presentations. We are running a bit late, but I hope you'll bear with us because there's a lot of information it's important to give you. Any specific quick questions on what you heard just now? Are we pretty good?
Nick, I was going to talk about
I'm going to go that
funding.
now. The money, right? Yeah. So we're going to go now. But so if you stay back, if you have some questions around some of those things, either stay back, put something in the chat. We'll get back to you. I'm going to go to Rolly now. He's going to talk a bit about funding.
Okay. So as you will recall, organizers last year did receive some funding assistance from our budget, from the central budget. We e-transferred $100 to each location that requested it. Last year, we spent roughly $13,000 out of our budget we had 76 locations in October of last year, 2024. And there was also a transfer of $500 to each hub. Now this year we have more money available to financially support the organizers and their locations. We have $20,000 in our budget for that. And we've already spent about $2,000 on more flags. And by the way, we have some extra flags for new locations that perhaps don't have a flag or are organizing for the first time. We have flags available. All we need is a request for that. And maybe we'll remind organizers again when we send out the post-meeting email. This year, we will be reimbursing costs up to $200 per location, but the process will be different. You will have to provide invoices. We can only reimburse funds if we have the invoices, because this is going to be administered through Small Change Fund, and we have to be in compliance with Revenue Canada, of course, for monies spent by a charitable organization. And they are our partner in this venture, as far as the financial partner in this venture. We will also reimburse the hubs up to $500, again, with invoices being provided. We will have a contingency fund for locations that are becoming large demonstrations or large rallies that are missing perhaps some funding help. So we will consider each case on a case-by-case, each request on a case-by-case basis. Again, this information will be provided in the follow-up email. And the way it's going to work is, as far as providing me with invoices, I don't expect people to send me a paper invoice. What I would like you to do, for example, if you're organizing right now or you've got a few invoices, if you have an invoice from Staples, an invoice for coffee and muffins or whatever you're organizing, or an honorarium that you're paying for someone to be a speaker, accumulate the invoices and set them down on the table. Take a photo with your camera, not of each invoice, but a photo of a group of invoices, and send it to me. Again, we'll provide that information in the follow-up email, but you'll send me the photo, and with that, I will be getting some funding sent to me in our alternative savings account to refund you from our bank account. But I will need those invoices to justify the reimbursement. Now, some of you may already have decided you're going to pay for those out of your pocket, and that's fine too. But here's a little trick. if you send the invoices, you can be reimbursed. And if you still want to donate, you can donate that money and get a charitable receipt for it. So, I mean, this is a little bit of a trick, I guess. You can still donate and get a receipt for it, even though, and get reimbursed for your costs. So as I said, gather your invoices, and we'll be providing more information on that in the coming weeks.
Okay.
That's all for now, Nick.
Thanks, Rolly. So I'm not going to take questions on that. I'm assuming it's going to be fairly straightforward. You can contact Rolly if you need to. And the reason why I can't take questions is we're running a bit late. And again, I think there's some important issues coming up that you should know about. Or put me up to Pat Wally, but just before I go to Pat, I'm just giving David Robertson a bit of a warning. We're going to ask you to talk about the webinar after that. A couple minutes to describe the September 9th webinar because Michael Barkley isn't here. So Pat is going to talk about summer in Winnipeg and Manitoba.
Hi, everybody. Glad to see you. At the last coordinating team, we sort of at the beginning of the meeting talk about what's happening in our neighborhoods. And I mentioned what was happening in Winnipeg, and the team said, maybe you should talk about that. Just because everybody's situation is different right across the country. I know there's fires in lots of places right now, but Manitoba and Winnipeg have been really impacted this summer. So I know many of you have had smoky days, but in Winnipeg this summer, we've had the most smoke hours ever recorded. Most of the weather services report air quality up to 11 plus. That's the scale they use. There is a global service that actually has 24 local sensors in Winnipeg called Purple Air. Last Thursday, the reading downtown was a very smoky 32. It was quite bad, but nothing like Thompson, that on August 1st had a reading of 51. Many in Canada's north are enduring smoke that is bad or worse for days on end. In fact, a few of us were talking this morning about you open the drapes in the morning and you go, okay, it's another gray day. Is that cloud or is that smoke? And you're never sure because seeing blue sky is a rarity this summer. For me, the presence of smoke has meant very short time out in my garden before going back inside where my air purifier is working. I've only had a few opportunities to sit on my deck this summer and enjoy being outside. City folks like me are so privileged compared to those in the north. We're in area 15 times the province's 20-year average has already burnt in Manitoba. 15 times the average. Manitoba has had 31,000 fire refugees registered this year. Most ended up staying in Winnipeg. When I hear of those in fly-in communities waiting 3 to 4 days to finally get on a military plane to escape, I'm appalled. I know what it's like to get ready for a holiday, but imagine these refugees. They've packed the one carry-on they can take, emptied their fridge since the electricity will probably go out, got the kids all ready, and then waited either at home or outside the small building at the airport in smoke for days, hoping the plane would come in the time that the smoke has lifted. So their days, the planes couldn't come. So they just sat there and waited. There's not enough hotel rooms are available for everyone. So some are staying in large gym-like spaces. I would have a terrible time trying to sleep in a big, echoey room with rows of cots, no privacy, and no place for the few things that I've been able to bring out. What about parents stuck in this space that have a couple of children that need to be kept quiet for weeks, with the only personal space being a cot? They have no transportation and very little cash. What do they do? How this is the new reality for too many. Not only the anxiety of escaping the fire, but weeks of existing not knowing when they can go home or what they will find on returning. Unfortunately, this fire season will be repeated with ever increasing frequency and ferocity. Our governments are paying out millions of dollars to house and feed the refugees, plus the expense of actually fighting the fires. But they're not addressing the cause of fossil fuel pollution that is heating our planet. We and our allies all need to continue our work of raising awareness with the general public that the warming of our planet is caused by burning fossil fuels. This should force all governments to act. Thanks.
Wow. Thank you, Pat. I think you can agree that story is one of the stories we have to hear, and there's a lot of others as well. Okay, I'm going to ask David Robertson to talk about the September 9th webinar.
Well, if there was going to be an introduction to the webinar, that was Pat. That was amazing. You introduced the reasons and the need for the webinar that we're doing. We know that this is the second worst fire season in Canada's history. And we know that the size of land that is burning, over 7 million right now hectares, it's not only size, it's intensity. In fact, fires have been transformed. We no longer have forest fires, we have fire weather. And that is the book that John Vaillant wrote. It is called Fire Weather. And in Fire Weather, he focuses on the people, just the way Pat just did in terms of focusing in on the people. He focuses in on the cause. He links the fires to what we know in terms of climate science and the history of climate science. And in the final section, he starts hinting and pointing to how do we address this? How do we respond, both in terms of protecting communities, but in terms of deciding it is time to phase out fossil fuels, which cause and set the conditions for forest fires. So John Vaillant, if you haven't read Fire Weather, I would encourage you to do it. If you've read it once, I would encourage you to read it again. It's a great book, and we are really excited that John has agreed to be our keynote for the September 9th webinar. The webinar has two purposes. One is to talk about fire, and to talk about the climate crisis we're in and how we need to fight and respond to that. And the second part is to draw attention to and to kind of give a final kick to September 20th. So we'll start with John. He will do a 30-minute presentation. We will follow that with a 15-minute Q&A. And at the end of that, we will transition to Seniors for Climate talking about why September 20th is important and why we need people in all the communities that we can get across the country on the streets or in the events on that day. We will hear a little bit from a couple of locations. We won't have a lot of time. It's a 1.5-hour webinar. We will hear a bit from a couple of locations, and we are trying to promote this in a way to get people who would not normally maybe be part of Seniors for Climate or Draw the Line, to get them to come in to hear John at a time when Canada is burning, to talk about fire weather, and for us to use that to talk, as Louise said earlier, to mirror people's concerns back to them about what's going on with extreme weather. So talk it up as much as you can. I think it'll be a great event. Thank you.
Thank you. Well put. Thanks very much. Okay, we're going to go now to 3 organizing examples, and I'll call on Dave Smith to introduce that.
Okay, well, in just a moment, I'm going to call on Tylene Appel from Edmonton and Nancy Nickel from Kingston and Margaret Ann McHugh from Halifax to give us a short talk on what they are planning on doing. I really personally enjoy hearing about all these, even though I hear a lot of details about stuff that's going on. I find that hearing what's actually going on in a specific location really encouraging for me, at least. So I hope you find the same. And I will ask Tylene if you would please tell us what Edmonton is doing.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, I am so excited about our event. It's come together beautifully, and it's turning out to be quite a large event with a big coalition. So that's been really exciting. I kind of spearheaded the event, but it's been leadership just has been coming in from all areas, especially Indigenous leadership and migrant rights leadership, and it just happened on its own. So that's been really exciting too. So our event is on Saturday, September 20th. The event details are 3 o'clock. We will be marching from City Hall in Edmonton to the Alberta Legislature, which will take, half an hour to an hour. And we're going to have lots of noise, lots of music, lots of celebration and drawing attention. Banners, placards. We're going to have people dressed in costume as well. Then when we arrive at the Alberta Legislature, we're going to have a rally for about 45 minutes to an hour at the steps. We're going to have speakers for each of the Draw the Line demands, and really not like a presentation kind of speaking, but getting the crowd going and drawing attention to the demands type of speakers. We're going to interject that with a few performers, including the Raging Grannies. And we'll still have all of those art and activism displays that were part of the march as well. And then at the end, when it's over, then there'll be lots of time for people to interact, organizations can hand out flyers, and if they have petitions to sign, and more connection that can continue just on its own. We're going to be having some high quality photography and videography to be able to have really good images and video coverage for later. Possibly, we're going to talk about possibly some film, a little bit of film stuff that might happen. Right now we are doing our building events. So I'd really encourage all of you to check out 350.org has a toolkit for teach-ins, for a teach-in. It's completely set up. It has slides, it has videos, it has facilitator guides, how to the whole time frame, discussion questions to develop the themes and the messaging, and for education for our members. And it's also, these are really big opportunities to build momentum both for the event and driving through after the event. So building relationships, confidence, skills, messaging, cohesion, trust, excitement, purpose. And it's also to learn about the Draw the Line movement itself. And it's to help keep the alliances and movement pushing forward for long-term solidarity and mass movements beyond the event. So we are hosting 2 of these events. We're doing a teach-in and we're doing an art build. So our teach-in is this Sunday, the 17th.
Sorry, Tylene. We're running a little bit over. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I'll wrap it up. Thanks for letting me know. So the teach-in is going to be the Draw the Line information that we have, plus IMA, International Migrants Alliance, is going to do a presentation about neoliberalism, migration, and Bill C2 workshop. We're going to have 2 people doing Indigenous movement theory, and then organizers training. And then we plan to have an art build after. And we have used tons of the information that's already available in the supplies to make our posters, our emails, like everything. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just go on and you add your information. So I highly encourage that. And yeah, our coalition is awesome. I was going to list who it is, but I'll stop. Thank you. And thanks for letting me know the time frame.
Thank you, Tylene. And we'll move on to Nancy Nickel in Kingston. Nancy.
Okay, well, SCAN Kingston has been working on September 20 Draw the Line plans. We're planning an active transportation parade. So active transportation is a plan from the city of Kingston. So we're kind of jumped on that idea. So we're encouraging people to use any mode of transportation that doesn't involve fossil fuels, and bikes, scooters, rollerblades, stilts, mobility devices, and so on. The plan is we've got permits now for 2 parks and for the parade itself, and we're starting off in a park that's close to Queen's University. And 2 days before September 20, we have a poster making event happening at Queen's with the group there. That's a climate activist group on campus. And then we're marching from that park to another community park on the other side of the main commercial street of Kingston. And that park, the local neighborhood association is planning a neighborhood event. So we are coordinating with them, and landing there at the end makes it a great opportunity to connect with that local neighborhood group. So we have in the initial stages, I'd say, in terms of doing outreach. We've reached out to a number of different organizations that we've worked with in the past, and that's evolving and ongoing. And we plan to invite other groups to send a representative to be part of our next organizing meeting on August 21st. We've reached out to a local group that's doing work around Bill 5 in Ontario. And they are bringing Indigenous leaders from Apawask. I get this wrong all the time. Apawaskat. Sorry.
Attawapiskat.
That's it. Yes. And my apologies. And their legal team, the Legal Advocates for Nature's Defense Land, they're coming to Kingston between September 25th and 30th. And we want to support this. I've reached out to them. We think there might be some time for a few speakers when we arrive at the park at the end of the parade. We wanted to focus on activity and not on a lot of speakers, but we may ask them to speak at the park at the end to encourage people to get involved with the September 25th to 30th visit. So they are also organizing around local plans with the city and a plan to expand the urban boundaries. So it kind of fits with Draw the Line, to do a Draw the Line against urban sprawl. And we're talking with them about the possibility of having a contingent as part of this parade that focuses on the urban expansion issue, which has all kinds of issues associated with it, and some local organizing around development of wetland areas. So we need more discussion about the Draw the Line requests in terms of their basis of unity, and reaching out to other communities and acknowledging the 5 demands and the basis of unity. And I think we'll have that discussion in our upcoming meeting tomorrow. And we also have to think about our capacity, because so far we've have been organizing this and not been able to bring in other people to get involved with the actual organizing.
Okay, thank you, Nancy, and sorry to rush on. Margaret Ann, would you mind?
I'll be really quick.
Okay.
We have at the moment on the 19th, which is the Friday, we have a seniors info day and expo that is all on climate. Basically, it's a day for seniors to get educated about climate. On the 20th, we'll be trying to get a lot of those seniors to the street, but we're building a bigger coalition for that day. We are still on the ringing bells. We're still trying to get church bells to ring. We are going to be ringing handbells in a but we're having a little trouble. Like, how do you advertise? We're going to do something that's going to be militant. So we're going to be doing a thing with ringing bells in a Royal Bank. I can't say too much more about that. There will be an arts event that's actually being coordinated by the Council of Canadians. And our sort of largest environmental group here, the Ecology Action Center, is also planning an event. They haven't told me yet what it is. But so we have at least those three groups. The Voice of Women, which is a peace organization, is also involved. But basically, we are drawing the line, sounding the alarm, ringing the bells.
Thank you so much, Margaret Ann. And Nick, the focus is back to you.
Okay. And then back to you and Pat. I'm not sure who's doing this. We're going to do some reminders, a few things, and then we'll wrap up. And of course, we'll have the after chat. I don't know if it's Pat
Okay,
or who's doing this.
it's mostly me, and Dave's going to pop in when I miss things.
Okay.
I know everybody's really busy getting themselves organized with their events, but there's a few things you need to remember to think about. One of them is making sure, if you're having speakers, have a land acknowledgement. There is tips on how to do that on our website under tips for organizers. So there's lots of information on how to deal with land acknowledgements if you don't have experience. You also may need insurance. So that will depend on, you need to check with each location whether you have to buy insurance. In Winnipeg, we're able to piggyback with an established climate group that has insurance, and we just piggyback on theirs, but they have to list it. So need to check that out. I know Rolly mentioned that there's $200 from Seniors for Climate, but you may want to do some fundraising. Talking with other established environmental groups, they might have some money available or be able to do some printing for you or whatever, depending on your location, of course. Labor unions might be able to help. And those groups, the environmental groups in Winnipeg, the group we use will let us issue receipts for donations. So for some people, that's a benefit. So talk to those groups and see if they have the ability to issue tax receipts and whether you can piggyback on that with them. You need to think about a media plan. You need to reach out to local media and local groups that send out newsletters. Maybe your senior center, maybe a church, maybe the Lions or the Roadies, somebody who sends out a monthly newsletter. But to get in their September version, you need to get them information this month so that it's included in their September newsletter. They're often looking for material, so include something. Maybe you could prepare an article for your local weekly flyer or newspaper that comes out. If you include your poster or pictures, they might grab onto it more fervently. But give them lots of time. So if you give it to them soon, then they've got 4 weeks till your event and might be able to fit it in 1 week. There's certainly, again, lots of hints and ideas to help with your media stuff on our webpage. You may need marshals at your event to keep people from wandering into traffic, or to keep just to keep people in line, or to give people information. Like, everybody has questions, like, where's the bathroom? You need to think about washrooms. Are there some public washrooms available, or in our case, when we go to the legislature, there's a local church that volunteers to let our folks use their washrooms. So you need to think about that kind of stuff. You also need to think about maybe seating at your event. You're dealing with seniors. Maybe you need a dozen chairs or something so people can sit down after they've walked, or even just sit down when they get there. Also remember to get somebody to do photography and maybe a videographer so that you got a record of what happened, a visual record for your future use. And then please send it in to Dave at admin. It's admin@seniorsforclimate.org. So he's the gatekeeper for all this information. And that way Seniors for Climate can use it, and it's also stored in our archives. So we've got that information in our history. And a big thing to remember is always have sign-up sheets for Seniors for Climate. Our goal for the year is to try to get 10,000 people on our list. So that means if you can get them on your list, and Dave's comment is just take a picture with your phone and send it in, he'll post them. You don't have to put them on spreadsheets or anything like that. You just need to get people to sign up. So if you can have a couple of people wandering around with a clipboard and getting everybody to sign up, it will be a big help. And that there is a form for that in the toolkit as well. It's amazing what's in that toolkit. You just have to look. And I think that's about everything. Dave, what did I forget?
I think you covered it all, Pat, but I'm just, again, going to emphasize the getting people to sign up for our email list. That's really important. We're still trying to grow the movement, and we need way bigger numbers than what we have, because it becomes self-feeding after a while. Everybody wants to join in, and we need to be able to grow the numbers. And photography, yes, is important because we get a heck of a lot of free advertising that costs virtually nothing from all the wonderful photos and videos you guys send in. So thank you.
Fabulous. Thanks very much. So we're coming to the end. One couple things. One, September 2nd will be the next meeting, not the second Tuesday, but the first one, because we don't want to end up being so close to September 20th that we can't deal with issues that have to be dealt with. So September 2nd, which I think is 3 weeks today. I can't remember, whatever number of date weeks it is. Please mark that in your calendars. And of course, we'll send out that information. Thank you very much for your participation. People talked about needing to have hope. If there's people in this room don't, just seeing people and hearing people and recognizing the talents and dedication of people in this room, never mind the people you're all working with and other people across the country. That's the reason for hope, that's for sure. And thank you so much for your participation tonight. We'll be in touch. And stay back if you'd like. So we'll end the formal part of the meeting now and go into the informal.